What's up, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast, The Regular. We're so excited to have you here watching us. Hope that you're just having a great moment chilling, drinking a cup of coffee and hanging out. So thanks for joining us. Today we have the one and only
Joshua Caetano.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, excited to be here and get to do this again.
I know, I feel like it's been a minute since you've been on the podcast.
It has been a minute. I think the last time I did it was when it was like Dylan and Paige together. Oh no, never mind. I did one with Cole like not too long ago, but it has been a solid minute since I haven't been back. So good to be back.
Oh, we're so glad that you're
Yeah.
here. I get to hear all of your deepest thoughts and revelations. So I hope that you brought them ready to go.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what comes out in this time. So we just finished up Easter. I hope you guys had such a great Easter. I asked in the last podcast, what is your favorite Easter tradition? And so I feel like not a lot of people really had any. And I'm kind of shocked.
I don't really have any Easter traditions either, no.
I feel like growing up, we do this every single year. Like we get up, we have our Easter baskets, we go to church, you have a dress on, we have the same lunch, like the same meal.
That's crazy.
Every Easter.
Yeah, I've never done that before.
Yeah. Is it just not a California thing? Was that just a Southern thing?
I guess so. I don't know. But
Sad.
Bella said she used to do like traditions with her family and stuff. I guess it's, I don't know.
So really,
Depending on the family, I think.
the conversation is more we bring back Easter traditions.
Yeah. I don't know
Bring
if
it
I'm
back.
the biggest fan of it, but.
You wouldn't be. You cringe. Well, if you do have any, still let us know so that we know for next year. We did follow through and bake bread and have our communion moment, which 10 out of 10 recommend. That was pretty cool.
We baked pizzas.
Same thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was fire. Shout out to Buddy James for cooking those pizzas and Karen Warren for opening up her house.
Yes. I saw videos with water balloons and all kinds of things. And
Yes,
so
it was fun.
it looked so fun.
That was a fun tradition we can do again. See? There you go. Bake pizzas and throw water balloons.
Hey, nothing says Easter more than that. Be baptized. Well, it was really a great Sunday. We're so glad. I hope that you guys were able to come. If you weren't, give the message a rewatch because it was so great, so powerful. I feel like I've said this before, but this really must just be Cole's style because I feel like he will preach on subjects that you've heard preached on a million times, but I've never heard a message like it before. So it was so amazing. I never heard an Easter message or even like a message on the resurrection like that before. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So first things first, hot take. What was your big thoughts?
I think my big thoughts were really like him just exploring the different kinds of people that Jesus appeared to, because it's like you said, it's a message that I hadn't heard before, like ever, to be honest. I hadn't ever thought about like, oh, Jesus appeared to these people first. Like there was he could have, there's so many people he could have appeared to, but he chose to appear to these people. And really like that breakdown of, seeing that was my hot take for sure on the message. Yeah, it
was so cool. It made me think like a few weeks ago we had Blake Vandermark here on Palm Sunday sharing, and one of the things that he said was God's in the details. Like he's a God of the details. And I was like, that's so true, because when you're looking, I think sometimes I just have to remind myself of how intentional God is.
Yes.
And ask more questions, because I'm like, oh, why did he reveal himself to these people first? But then like when you start to break it down, it's like, oh, God's so intentional. So I thought that was so cool.
It's like there's nothing that he does that it isn't without an intention.
Yes.
But we still like forget that sometimes, so it's cool to like, even like reading back at it, like there was other little things that I seen and I'm like, oh yeah, that was with intention,
right.
Like
yeah, it was really cool. So basically, if you didn't see it, what he kind of broke down was who Jesus appeared to first, like the order in which he appeared to people after he was raised from the dead. And so the first being Mary, Joanna, and the women who are at the tomb.
Yes.
That came and they realized, oh, like the tomb is empty and Jesus isn't here. So that was the first people who had that revelation of Jesus has risen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy, because when you think about it, like if I, in my human self, was Jesus, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna roll out of this tomb and show up to the biggest crowd. Like, I'm gonna be in the temple. 100%. Like, what's the biggest audience that I can show I've risen?
Yeah.
But he didn't do that.
No.
He just, to like his closest friends, the intimate people that he was walking with, and the first being the women who had actually followed him with the disciples.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. I was even thinking about it in the car, and I was like, Lord, like, why? You know, like you could have showed up to like millions of people just like, hey, like, I'm back, you know, but you still chose to like, you know, come back to like just a few little people in the silence, in the quiet, in like the little whisper, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's just like I was just it's kind of like that revealing of the heart of who God is.
Yes.
You know, I was reading the other day and like seeing, it was Elisha that I was reading, and like how like fire came down like 2 times, and then the 3rd time this silent whisper came, and that's when the Lord came.
Yeah.
You know, and just like knowing that like he's in those silent little whispers, you know, like really revealing that heart of who the Father is, you know.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even it's so intimate. Like God is so intimate. And the way that even he showed up wasn't publicly or loudly, but in relationship, privately, in the little relational ways that he could show up, and so intentional with the walks that those people were on. Because Cole goes on to talk about first to Mary and the women, and then later on as he's going through the list of people, like he gets to Peter.
Yeah.
And, you know, Peter, bless Peter. I mean, I think in my own journey, I would like read the Bible and be like, I'm like John. Like, I'm gonna be that like lover of Jesus that's like reclining with him at the table. The first that's like, I stayed with him at the cross. But the reality is we're probably all like Peter.
He is my favorite, to be honest.
Peter is so like all in or all out.
Oh, yeah.
And like is so aggressive. Yes, chopping off an ear
off.
Yes, and it's like he makes so many mistakes, but out of his like zeal for loving Jesus. But Peter, you know, we see him kind of have his big fail, his big moment of denying Jesus.
Yeah.
And before Jesus is taken to the cross, he tells Peter, like, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter's like, you know, I would never. Yeah. And then literally, you know, 3 times ends up denying him. He's denying him to a 12-year-old child, like a little girl who's like, hey, aren't you one of the disciples? And he's like, no, don't know him. And what's crazy is this, I don't know how I've read the gospel so many times that somehow have missed this until this year, but it's really crazy. You can see in Luke, it actually says, so where Jesus was being whipped was actually like public view, like people could see him at the whipping post. And Peter, the last time that he denies Jesus, the rooster crows, Peter realizes what he's done. And Jesus from the whipping post looks at Peter, him, which is like,
that would break
savage.
My heart.
Yes.
I was like, what have I done?
When I read that, I cried. Like, it was the first time I realized, like, oh man, like, can you imagine for Peter how heartbroken and to realize like, oh my gosh, I didn't stay with him. And so he leaves ashamed.
Yeah. To have walked with someone for like so long. Yes. Yeah. Like deny him, and then that person just
looks at, I can't. So then, you know, Jesus comes and reveals himself to Peter, and it's so intentional in Peter's journey because even though Peter, you know, makes all these mistakes and he makes all these failures, Jesus is still like, you're the rock that I'm going to build the church on. And so realizing that, oh, for me, that revelation was, oh, it doesn't, even despite my mistakes, even despite my failures, God doesn't let that failure, doesn't let our worst moment define us.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it kind of ties into the message a couple of weeks ago with Blake, where he's talking about being disqualified. Like, God is who qualifies you.
Yeah.
And nothing else. Like, no one can disqualify you.
Yeah.
And I was realizing, like, oh man, I think so many of us are like, oh, but I did this thing, or like you think on your worst moment and you're like, oh, I can't go be the, you know, rock of the church. I can't go be a preacher. 100%. I can't go be a teacher. I can't go whatever. And Jesus is like, I actually don't look at that moment. That doesn't define you. Yeah. And it's the redemption of like the resurrection.
Yeah. I seen this quote once that it was like, let me see if I say it right. It was, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
So good.
You know?
Yes.
And it's like, it's that understanding of no matter what I've done, like that doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, it's not who I am, you know, and that's not who he sees me to be, you know, and really understanding that for us sometimes.
Yeah.
Even myself, I have to like stop sometimes, and, you know, like when, you know, we make mistakes, or, you know, we're living a hard season in life that we're not really, you know, we're trying to be good, but, you know, the good that I want to do, I can't do, you know, and it's like really having to remember that, like, hey, this doesn't define how the Lord sees me, you know, like he doesn't see me as this. This is just a moment that I'm going through.
It's so good.
Know? Yeah.
I wish we could like really see that moment that Jesus first encounters Peter afterwards, because it's not really talked about. It's kind of like an afterthought mentioned. And then too, he also goes on. I love this one when he's walking with the nameless disciples. So these poor guys aren't even like, we don't even know who they were.
Yeah,
they're just nameless disciples.
They're just two guys.
Just two guys. And that Jesus literally is walking with them as they are like gossiping and talking about like Jesus. And they're like, man, haven't you heard? Like, don't you know? It's just so funny. Don't you know? Like, you know, we thought that he was the Messiah, and he got crucified, and like, and they're sharing, like, they're talking about their disappointment in Jesus to Jesus, and I'm like, can you imagine?
I'm like, you're the only man that doesn't know what happened to Jesus of Nazareth.
I know, and he's like, what happened? Like, it's so funny. But he goes on and he has dinner with them, and when he breaks the bread is when they realize it's Jesus, and then he vanishes. That's crazy. Do we actually think about those moments? I'm like, can you imagine just sitting at dinner with this guy, and then you realize it's Jesus, and there's poof,
gone. I feel like there's so much that like happened, and you know, like it's a little passage, but with so much revelation to us, you know, of the different people that he showed up, you know, and showing up to the disciples, and showing up to Thomas as well at the end. You know, it really caught my attention how all these different people had like different stories in life and different walks in life that they were in. It wasn't just like, you know, everyone's living the same thing, but they all had like their different moments, you know, that they were going through. Jesus appeared to them all in like a different way, but in like such an intimate way, like we were saying, you know.
Because like if you really like think about it and break it down, which Cole did such a good job on Sunday, is Mary and the women, like, all we really know is like Mary used to be a prostitute, had 7 demons. Joanna was married to like the head of Herod's house. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
You think about what their life looked like, and then they have this like amazing moment of encountering God and their story getting kind of redeemed and walking with him. And so he comes to these people who have this really intense past, but have now been saved, become devoted lovers. He comes to them. Then he goes to the nameless disciples who are literally processing their grief about God. And I think that's so intentional too, because we can have disappointment in the Lord. We can have moments where we were believing for something, or we thought something was going to happen and it didn't go the way we thought. And then we're like, Jesus, what are you doing? And having that disappointment, I think it's more than they were just like talking and gossiping about Jesus. It's actually realizing like, oh, they were so disappointed because they thought him dying, they thought that meant he wasn't who he said he was. And so Jesus walks with them. Like, he actually lets them process their disappointment. That's crazy. And then with Peter has his failure 2 seconds ago, and Jesus is already back saying like, hey, like, that doesn't disqualify you from your calling. And then Thomas is just awesome, because he, you know, everybody at this point basically has seen Jesus other than Thomas, and he's still like, nah. He's still like,
not believing.
Still don't believe it.
I need to touch him to like feel. I need to put my arm in his like side.
He's like, not only do I need to see him, I actually need to put my finger into the hole in his hand and into his side where he was pierced. And he has so much unbelief. And Jesus still comes to him, shows him immediately, walks in, shows him his hands, puts his hand in his side, and he's like, now you believe, but how much more blessed will the people be who don't get to see.
I love that verse.
I love that. Tell me why you love that verse.
It's really because it's like, you know, sometimes I feel like in life, you know, you just get so caught up, and, you know, like you sometimes you don't see Jesus moving the way you want to see
Yeah.
him. You know, kind of like you were talking about, like that. What was the word you used when you were talking about the men? They were
Nameless. What?
not
What were we talking about?
nameless. No, you were talking about the men, and the word left my brain. Disappointment.
Disappointment.
Like
I was like, which thing that said about which man?
Guys, I speak Portuguese and English. Sometimes I remember the words in Portuguese, but not in English. And sometimes I remember the words in English, but not in Portuguese. So
It's hard. It's
but
hard.
hey, we got it. Disappointment. But so, like, even talking about the disappointment, sometimes we get so disappointed in life and we don't see Jesus moving like we want to see him move, you know, and just knowing that assurance of, hey, like, blessed are those who don't see me, yet still believed. You know, it's like, it's that faith that we have of really like standing strong, even when we don't see anything happening. It's like, okay, I'm still gonna, you know, have faith, and I'm still gonna believe that you're real, that, you know, whatever you say, you will do. You know, it's having that, it's like a peace that just, you know, I get a peace from it. You know, it's a peace that we can't understand, to be honest, you know.
Well, it makes me think too of that verse that's like, Lord, to like help my unbelief.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he does show up to Thomas in his doubt, that even when we don't have enough faith, or we don't have enough belief, or we're still doubting, that the Lord still meets us there and enables our belief.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, when we've had moments in our life where, you know, like we lose a job, or, you know, that's the only example that's coming to my head right now, but something that happens that you're not expecting.
Crash your car.
You crash your car, your new Tesla, you crash it.
Oh, no.
No, not good.
No, please, Jesus.
But you have a moment and you're like, you don't understand. And it's that when we don't understand something, we're so quick to then create distance. Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. And so it can't be good. Like, I can't have belief in it because this didn't happen, like XYZ. But that actually, when we press in, we don't run away, but we actually press in, that the Lord meets us there. And he's like, here are my hands, here's my side. Like, I'm actually going to give you the faith. I'm going to give you the belief, even when you are lacking it. When we press in and we come close.
It's even like that beautiful picture of Jesus walking with the nameless man.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, I'm here. I'm hearing you. You know, like you talk all you want. Like I'm listening to you.
Yes.
You know, I'm with you in this process.
Yes.
You know, it's that beautiful picture.
Yes. It is so cool, because literally all throughout the Gospels, Jesus, the whole time with his disciples, is like, I'm going to go to the cross. Like, I'm going to go to the cross. I'm going to be crucified. I'm going to die, and I'm going to raise again on the third day. And he says this over and over again. And still, when it happens, they're like, what? And so distraught. Yeah. And they're all in their different processes of grief, of fear, of shame.
Yeah.
All of these things that are going on.
Trying to understand what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the way it's just so intentional. Like, Jesus didn't just raise on the third day and declare it to the world, but he actually walked with every single disciple in their process.
Yeah.
In their journey, in their pain, in their fear, in their shame. And he meets them, and he literally walks with them in that.
It's so good.
It's such a beautiful picture.
It is.
And for us to realize, like, in whatever processes that we might be going through or facing or challenges, that he's walking with us.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants that relationship. Like, he's not just going to let us be free. You know, he's like, hey, I'm here with you to walk you through it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. And I think, like, just realizing the testimony that we have in that, the testimony we have of walking with Jesus. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I do too. Just knowing the cross is empty.
Yes.
You know, like the whole weekend is just like that. Just in my brain, it's just like the cross is empty. The cross is empty.
Yeah.
You know, it's that beautiful picture of Jesus raised from the grave.
Yes.
You know.
So good. Yeah. So I think, like, a question to leave us with, or a challenge to us, is like, one, do you see yourself in any of these stories? You know, in the disbelief, in the fear, in the failure, in the disappointment, can you see yourself in any of these processes? And then what is a testimony that you have? Like, what is a time that you walk through something, but Jesus was with you? And something that you can point back to. I think that's something too, when we're facing something hard, that's so encouraging to us, is when we can actually look back and be like,
what the
Look
Lord
what
has
the Lord
done.
has done. And have that picture of, actually Jesus is walking with me.
Yeah.
And so that's a question for you guys to mull over and think about this week. Is just, am I allowing the Lord to walk with me in my process? And what does that look like for me? So, yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Josh, thank you for doing the podcast with me. It's the 20-year-olds podcast.
The 20s.
The 20s. We're renaming this to the 20s.
The 20s podcast.
Yeah, join us for our new podcast. So anyway, we hope you guys have a great rest of the week. We'll see you on Sunday. If you've been looking at my rodeo church hat and you want one, find them here.
I almost wore my shirt today.
You should have.
But then I was like, I don't know about it.
You should have. I don't know what you're doing.
Okay.
We could have matched.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want a rodeo church hat or shirt, we're going to have them here in the lobby at Risen King on Sunday. We're selling them as a fundraiser to help put on the event. So come buy some merch and we will see you Sunday. Bye, guys.